Hey guys, and welcome to Crazy Days. I'm Wanda, and today the canning kitchen's open. We're going to be doing a water bath canning today. This is the first time I've water bathed in my new canning kitchen. So far I've been pressure canning everything, and this week alone you're going to see on my cabinet, you're still going to see 14 quarts of yellow wax beans and green beans and potatoes, because I haven't got them put up. I did them late yesterday. They'll get put up today because I leave them 24 hours. But today we're doing blueberries. Danny and I have been picking blueberries for almost 3 weeks now. A good 2 weeks steady. And my freezer's filling up. It's easy to do blueberries. When you pick them, just take them, make sure they're dry, put them in a gallon Ziploc and put them in the freezer. Then you can do what you want to when you take them out. You can eat them fresh. You can make whatever you want to make. But today, we've got to take some out of the freezer. That's part of the thing. And while I'm going to show you some of my things here in the canning kitchen for water bath canning. First off, we're going to talk a little bit about pots. Now, this is the standard water bath pot that most people know what it is. You have the pot, you have the basket inside, and you have the lid. That's what comes with it. But you sit it in there like that. But your jars sit in here, and then you lower it down into the water bath canner. Now that one has been used a lot. It is rusted. You can buy, I think, some newer baskets for it, things like that. I have retired these water bath canners. I have 3 of them, and they are for if we need them, emergency situations. These are the newest that I use here at Deep South. These are stainless pots. You can buy them at Walmart, you can buy them online, whatever. They are a little pricey, from $50 on up according to the size pot you get. They come a pretty stainless pot and a lid. That's all you're getting. To water bath can, you can water bath in this one. This is a 16 quart. This is one of the smaller ones that I have. You can water bath pints and half pints in this one. I save these things. Y'all recognize these? These come with the old-timey pressure cooker type things. This is what I found will fit in the bottom of this to keep my jars off the bottom of my pot. So save these things, don't throw them away. This one is a 18 quart. I think I have 16, 18, and then voila, the 22. They make 20s, 24s, 26, any size you want accordingly. We're not going to be using this one. This one's a 22. It's a little big. That one I use for quarts mainly, but it's there. This one I'm going to be putting my blueberries in and getting them ready to process, and we'll be processing them in the 18. And then the one over there, the 16, is what we're going to process, because I'm with the water bath canner, use it as a water bath canner, because I'm only doing half pints and little quarter pints today. Okay, so today it's going to be a little difficult. It's cloudy outside and I'm having some issues. This is a stainless colander, strainer, whatever. It comes in handy with berries and any type fruits and vegetables to have a supply of these. I have several different types. This is just the one I'm using today to wash berries. I have a supply of ladles. Now, these are stainless. You see this? I have them made different ways, different sizes for whatever you're doing, but it comes in handy filling your jars with these. They're long, see the long handles on them? You don't like your hand up close to something hot and boiling, the long handles help. This is a plastic one that was sent to me. I keep it as a standby. It hangs, you can see this, it'll hang on the pot. But if you're doing boiling stuff, I don't recommend exactly. This might be actually silicone, but I doubt it. It's just kind of plastic. So I wouldn't use that for hot stuff. Sometimes you need something like this. These come in handy. They're flat, they have a long stem. Y'all can see I just collect stainless. Anything stainless, it lasts. Here's a slotted spoon, long handle. I have the spoons that are solid, made different ways, different sizes, and shorter handles, long handles, you name it. Baskets and strainers. Now these two, if you're doing some really fine stuff, these are two different sizes. This does a good job skimming. When you go through and you dip, you can get your skimmings out. You will get the skimmings later. You'll figure out what skimmings is. But again, stainless handles comes in handy. These little baskets, if you're going to be draining anything, whether it's from tea on up to veggies, berries, whatever, different sizes. I have more than these, believe me. Danny and I have been collecting all this stuff for a long time. You don't need everything I have. You need to figure out what you need and add it to your kitchen. And my shirt. Thank you, Robin, for the shirt. It says, I eat local because I can. I love it. And so today, we're doing blueberries. These are my blueberries. I've got 1.5 gallons here, and I don't know how many gallons I got in the freezer, like 12, 15 gallons. So we've got a lot to do. I'm not doing them all today, but I'm going to get a start. Number one, you need measuring cups and spoons because we're going to be measuring stuff. These I found at Walmart. They're magnetized, so whatever size you need, you can go to without something holding them together. You can get to it right quick and have the size you need and put them all back. Comes in really handy. You're going to need a funnel because it is hot, hot liquid, and this one has a handle on it. I would still recommend using something like what we're doing. We're going to be boiling and cooking the berries. So it's going in hot. It's going to make this stainless hot. You want something that's not going to melt. You don't want plastic, and lots of your new stuff is plastic. It works, but I don't like it. I like stainless. Just don't grab a hold of this while you're working because it is hot. And be careful. When you're doing a lot of stuff, a cup at a time is great, but if it calls for quarts, I have a quart container. That way, when I'm filling up like my big canning pot and stuff, it calls for 3 quarts. I can do a quart at a time. I don't want to sit here with a cup at a time or whatever. You can use a quart jar if you want to. A wide mouth quart jar works just fine, but I happen to have a quart container for water and like blueberries. I can throw a quart of blueberries in here and dump it in my pot because we're going to be measuring out in quarts and not cups. When you're doing blueberries and you're preserving blueberries, there are many, many different recipes, many ways to preserve blueberries. If you're making blueberry pie filling, you either need cornstarch or something they call a gel. And I don't have the gel, I just have cornstarch. If you're making jams and jellies, most of them call for pectin. This one is for less sugar. This one's the original. And I'm going to be using a recipe that calls for no sugar gel. Some fruits call for this. It's a classic fruit pectin. You can use this instead of this. You can measure out spoon by spoon instead of the pre-measured boxes. Most anytime you do blueberries, you need lemon juice. Today, Wanda saves her own lemons from her lemon trees. I keep lemon juice on hand. But guys, my cubes of lemon are melting so that I have my own lemon juice. Isn't that awesome? The other thing is sugar. You're going to need sugar. And we're going to limit the amount of sugar. We're not using pectin. We're using Wanda's lemon juice instead of bought lemon juice. But now I do keep a supply. If you're a prepper, buy up lemon juice, buy up sugar, buy up sugar gel. All these things should be on your prep list, and you should have more than just one container in your cabinet. Okay, so from a distance, I'm going to be showing you a few things. I'll come up close when I need to, but the canning kitchen is open. First, we take off this top that Danny made from my stove. This makes an excellent countertop when you're not using your stove, but we're using the stove today. All right, as you can see in the background, here's my 14 jars I did yesterday. When we're doing blueberries, we've got the whole process to do and get it in jars before we need the water. But I've got the water ready in the stainless pot with the piece down in the bottom so my jars are not sitting there. And we're just going to keep it out of the way for right now. We'll just sit it on the back and it's ready when we get ready for it. The first thing we're going to need is to wash the berries. And since we are going to be using this pot, this is the 18 quart, I'm going to be measuring into this one. So we're going to be measuring quarts, and we're going to talk about a recipe here shortly. And this smells so blueberry. I promise you, it already has a blueberry smell. And if you love blueberries, oh my. Now these Danny and I hand picked, so I didn't get them at a store. And it's not going to matter that one or two of them have a touch of the red, because that gives the blueberries that tanginess when you're making your stuff. You do want to, if you buy them from someone else, you want to check them. You want to look for any bad berries and take them out, any stems, any trash. But y'all, that's Deep South berries. Isn't that gorgeous? The recipe I'm using today, I need 3 quarts of berries. So that is 1, number 2. Some of our blueberries are big, some are small. It's different types of blueberries. So these are a rabbit eye, where these are a smaller variety. Voila, the 3rd quart of blueberries. Now the 3 quarts of blueberries are in this pot. We're going to add half a cup of water. I don't want that much water in here. And what we're going to do is, I've got this turned down low and I'm using gas for the first time doing this. So we're going to have to pay attention. You don't want to scald them, but you want to cook your berries down some. There's many ways to do blueberries. You can freeze them. If you only have a gallon or 2 and you want to freeze them and use them as needed, that's perfectly okay. Now the Ball book tells you many of those ways how to do it. I have a few recipes of my own. One thing, I saved the jelly and jam recipes from the old Pectin. I don't know if they put them in the new ones anymore, but sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, but I save it. I have a blueberry jelly recipe that is awesome. And if it doesn't make jelly, you have syrup. I've done that several times, and this one did not gel, or I didn't think it did the first day or 2, but within a few days it did gel. So now I have jelly, and this was done in 18, guys. Still good, and it's awesome. This one is blueberry jam. Now with the jam, I think I used the Pectin, and you see it is thick. It was done in 19. Still good. In 19, I dehydrated a whole bunch of blueberries and vacuum sealed them down. So dehydrating is another way. You can freeze dry blueberries. Now these are not freeze dried blueberries. These are freeze dried blueberry muffins with almond flour for Danny. That's what I freeze dried there. I tried freeze drying blueberries. Mine came out sticky. No matter how many times I did it, I did like 2 days. Still did not get them to the consistency that I was safe with. So we just used the blueberries, and I made muffins and I froze the muffins. You can do that. That freeze dry, not freeze dry the muffins. So blueberries in a freeze dryer and dehydrating are 2 things that in our humidity is very difficult. That's why I'm having trouble with some things, getting them freeze dried enough, running the freeze dryer multiple times in order to get to the consistency that I'm safe with. And blueberries is one of them. So that's why I'm canning blueberries instead of putting them in a freeze dryer. So I have a blueberry jam with no pectin. I have a blueberry syrup recipe. And like I said, I have the jelly recipe. Now today, we're going to be making the blueberry jam with no pectin. You can make blueberry pie filling, and it calls for using the cornstarch or the gel like I told you earlier. I was going to make pie filling, and I decided why not just do a general thing that I can use any way I want? Which means I'm going to do, it's a type of jam, and it doesn't call for pectin. When it'll either thicken some and I can use it as a pie filling, or if it doesn't thicken, I can always open the jar, add some cornstarch, and thicken it up. Win-win either way. Now, besides the berries, we're going to be using some sugar, and we're going to be using some lemon juice in it to make it thicken up somewhat. And it's already cooking out in these berries. That's why you want the least amount of water you can, because you're going to be cooking these berries and then we're going to mash them. You can leave them whole if you want, but they're pretty much going to be a little bit on the mash side time we get through anyway. But making jam calls for mashing them. And the smell is simply fantastic. The berries is cooking out already. The long handled spoon keeps my hand out of the pot, because you don't want your hand down in there and the steam hitting you. And we're going to just cook these and mash them shortly. We are in crunch mode now. You see it's starting to bubble somewhat. You see a film coming up, and we just want this to get there. We're fixing to turn this off. It's been about 15 minutes. And we're going to mash those berries. Now, I brought a bowl out for a dual purpose. Number one, to keep the blueberry off my countertops. But number two, you see the white stuff around it? There will be a point when we start skimming this. And when we do, I need somewhere to put that. So I'm going to turn this on down because I don't want it boiling just yet. And the skimmings, when we get to that point, it's going to go in this bowl. Alright, it is time to start. Now these berries are mashed. You can use a potato masher or anything you want to mash the berries. It doesn't matter. But you see the juice that came out of these berries. Now, we're going to add half a cup of lemon juice. But that's about half a cup of lemon juice, because we're going to need the lemon juice in here for the tartness. Then we're adding 1, 2, 3. We're going to see 3 cups of sugar to 3 quarts, if it will do what we need. And go ahead and cook it down. And I've got it on a low fire, so I'm not burning anything. We want the blueberry flavor, not a sugar flavor. And so if this turns out to be more of a blueberry syrupy mixture, it doesn't matter for us, because Danny and I would add, like I said, the cornstarch to it to make a pie filling. Or you can put it over yogurt, or you can put it in your smoothies. You can add it to ice cream, or on top of ice cream, or whatever you want to do. But we're going to cook this approximately 15 to 20 minutes and see how thick it gets. Now the skimmings I'm talking about is this stuff that's coming up now. This little screen won't let it fall back through. And I just put it over in my bowl over here that I've got to the side. As you do this, this will go to, you can make it go to one side, and you can just skim off. These are called skimmers. I think it's what they were originally called. You don't have to have these. You can use a spoon. I'm just showing you the products that are out there now since the old days of Grandma doing it. And like I said, we're going to cook this 15-20 minutes, and then we're going to jar it up. And you just want to kind of watch it at this point to get the skim off, because it doesn't hurt to have that in there, but it makes your jar ugly. If you want a pretty nice jar, you want this off of there. You can eat this. There's no point in throwing it away, or you can feed it to your chickens. Pigs love it. I'm just going to tell you, if you anything like this, if you've got pigs, pigs love this type stuff. All right, first off, we're going to talk about jars to water bath in. You can use quarts, pints. I'm not using quarts because this is blueberries, but you can use pints if you want to use a pint jar. They make a variety of decorative jars, different sizes. I think this is a quarter of a pint. This is a half a pint, and this is maybe an eighth of a pint. I'm not sure, but they're all different sizes. All these use a regular mouth, flat, and lid, like this. This calls them half pints. These are half pints, they're just fat. This is a wide mouth half pint, this is a regular half pint. They hold the same amount, they just use a different type of lid. One's short and squatty, one's taller. It's according to what you want in a jar. Now we're going to be filling a lot of these wide mouth half pints because that's what I'm going to be using for Christmas. And when Danny and I need something, that's the perfect size for us. One very important step as this starts to thicken like this is you want to stir it so it doesn't stick to the bottom. And you want it on a very low simmer. You do not want a high heat on your stove. That is the secret to jams and jellies, is not burning what you're cooking. But isn't that looking good? It's thickening up. This is almost to the stage we need it to jar up. It is already pretty thick. And the longer you cook it, the thicker it'll get. It'll get more thick, I guess you would say. I don't know if that's a word or not, but anyway. So it's been going over 20 minutes, and I'm going to let it go an extra 5 minutes or so, and then I'm going to jar it up. But you see, the berries are mashed, and it's getting thick. It's not going to be jelly now because we didn't put any gel in it, and we limited the sugar. Now, to be honest with you, the recipe calls for 3 cups of sugar to a quart of berries. I put 3 cups of sugar to 3 quarts of berries. So I cut the sugar in thirds. And it's still getting thick, guys. And the taste is phenomenal. I'm going to show you shortly. We are now ready to start filling our jars. Our jars are clean. You have your lids, and Ball doesn't recommend that you sit and put these in boiling water anymore. So I just cleaned them, got my flats and rings ready. I've got my jars ready. And these jars are going to be hot. I'm just going to tell you, it's going to be hot. And you may need a cloth, or you may need a glove, or whatever you're going to use in order to hold it. But you want to go up, people say a 1/2 inch head space. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this to keep it from getting on everything and put it over here on the next one. I'm going to take the jar and pick it up by the top. I'm going to wipe the top rim really, really well, because you don't want it sticking. That's the main thing. Jams and jellies can make it really difficult to get off. You take your flat and your ring, your 2-part thing, and hand tight. And that's what it's going to look like. And we're going to put it in our water bath canner for 15 minutes. And it's important to keep stirring, because the more you take out, the less is in there. And it's still cooking. I've still got it on low, as low as the fire will go with this gas stove. And it will continue to thicken. Secret tip for cleaning: go ahead and get some hot soapy water in it right quick, so that this stuff doesn't start sticking. You can even do this and rinse it down. As long as you already have water in it, it shouldn't stick. It makes cleanup easier. And one reason I'm using this big pot is I did 1 batch. Now I'm going to show you what 1 batch makes, but I'm fixing to start a second batch, which is going to be a double batch. Instead of 3 quarts, I'm going to use 6 quarts, and I needed the bigger pot. Okay, so 3 quarts of blueberries equals 7 half pints this way in the tall ones, and 2 half pints in the squatty ones, and 1/4 pint for us to enjoy. Now this is cooled off so I can taste it, and y'all, it's pretty thick. It would need a little bit of thickening for a pie filling, but once you let a jar sit, sometimes it thickens even more over time. There's no need to add any more sugar. The recipe does call for a lot of sugar, and I cut it down to 1/3 of the sugar. This is awesome. It's amazing. Very little sugar, and you can use it any way you want. Our water is ready. It's hot. It's boiling. We're gonna start with, and see how many of the half pints, the tall ones, we can put in there. And remember, I do have something on the bottom to keep them off the bottom. That's very important when you're canning, is to make sure. Okay, it held all 7 of the taller ones. And I'm gonna put the lid on it, and it's already boiling. We're gonna go 15 minutes in this water bath canner and take it out. Now we're gonna let the water kind of die down. I only have 2 more to do right now, so I'm going to go ahead while the water's hot and put them in there and go 15 minutes with them. And yes, you can water bath any amount you want. It can be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, ever how many will fit in here. This fits 7 of these tall half pint jars. Now the little squatty ones, probably about 4 or 5 is all that's going to fit in there. But if you only have 1 jar and you want to do 1 jar, you can water bath 1 jar. That's the beauty of water bathing. These are regular mouth. I'm right here. Watch with this. When you go down to this part, the wide mouth holds this way. And I'm going to put it down in my water while my water is extremely hot. We're going to turn it right back on. It should be back up to a boil. All right, guys, we have Mr. Danny here. He's going to check my blueberry stuff and see what he thinks.
Like a jam?
It's kind of a jam without pectin. You could about sit and eat it, couldn't you? It's not too sweet. That's what I'm going for.
No, it's not too sweet. It's got more of a blueberry taste to it.
And it's how thickness, what do you think?
Well, I think once it's been put in the refrigerator,
It's going to thicken somewhat.
it's going to be thicker than what it is. But right now, it still feels warm.
It is warm.
I think the thickness is really good. Be just right on biscuits or pancakes or bagels or whatever.
Or just eat it.
Or do what I'm doing, just eat it.
So I think in my canning kitchen, y'all got Mr. Danny in here today. He gives my blueberry jam a thumbs up.
Thumbs up. Well, if it was colder, I could tell you if it's about the thickness, but it's still warm in my hand.
Oh, it's still warm.
And I don't have a lot of feeling in my hand, so that tells me it's pretty warm.
It's warm.
Yeah, so it's probably going to get a lot thicker. I think it's really just about right. I mean, to be honest with you, it's not going to be so hard that you can't spread it on something without tearing it up.
Plus, if you added it to yogurt, oh, it's popping. Yogurt, ice cream.
Oh yeah, definitely.
If you want to make blueberry muffins or pour it on,
Yeah.
make a muffin and then pour it on it as an icing.
Yeah.
You know, open it up, pour it across it. Like you
could-
said, pancakes, bagels.
You could put this as a filling in something.
You could add a touch of cornstarch if you needed to and make
Yeah.
a pie.
Make a pie with it. Yeah. I'll sit here and eat it.
Y'all, this won't last. I promise you this will be gone today.
I'll sit there and eat the whole thing.
It's been 15 minutes. We'll take the last 2 out. Danny and I really enjoyed the little sample jar I did. It's not quite empty, but it's pretty close. You saw how much he liked it, and I loved it too. So These are not going to last too long, I'm afraid. Now I've got another pot sitting here. I've got 6 quarts in it. The beauty of this recipe is you can use 3 quarts, you can double it to 6 quarts, or you could double it to 9 quarts if you wanted to with the berries. Right now I'm fixing to do 6 more quarts of berries, and that will give me enough of my little half pints done for a Christmas gift and for sampling and things like that. And then we'll start on the next berries in a few days. But that clears me up about 3 gallons or 4 out of my freezer. 3 quarts of berries, blueberries, equals 9 half pints and 1 little quarter pint. So I think that would be a good ratio for you to remember. That's how much I ended up with. If you wanted to cook it a little longer, it would thicken even more. If you added more sugar, it would thicken faster. I just like the blueberry taste, and you saw Danny like the blueberry taste. So this is what works for us. Before long, maybe I can talk Mr. Danny into coming and making some blueberry syrup. That's on the to-do list shortly. And y'all, I hope you like my blueberry jam. This is a quick, easy way with no pectin. You don't need pectin. This is great. And there's many, many ways to do blueberries. This is the way I water bath can in my kitchen. Guys, I gotta go eat lunch and get back to making blueberry jam. All right, I've got 25 half pints done. Some of them in jars like the little scrawny things, some in the taller, but they're all half pints. If I wanted to do a half a pint every 2 weeks, this gives me that, because there's 52 weeks in a year. So now I have 1 half pint for every 2 weeks. If I want to have a half pint for every week, I've got to do this all over again. And for Christmas gifts, which this was my intention, hey, I see a 3rd cannon of blueberries. The canning kitchen is closed. Thank you guys for the crazy days.